Hello, guys. Welcome to the Trading Parrot and to another episode of the weekly TA for elite members. In this week, we're going to review some coins that you guys have been voting for. I can see that we have plenty of coins today. We have PEPE, TRV, WTC, which I have never heard. Every day I discover a new altcoin. Sonic, XRP, of course, ONDO, Virtuals, ADA with 3 votes, Ethereum at the very bottom with ENA, Sol, and Injective. It's going to be interesting. We're going to be reviewing all these coins. This video is private, of course, it's for Patreon elite members, but it's going to go live tomorrow morning. And it's going to be public to everybody else to watch. So basically, the perk is being part of this private group so we can do TA together. At the moment, we are 4 people doing TA here. So you guys, if you want to ask questions in the chat, I got the chat right here. Any questions about TA, Bitcoin, whatever is happening, trend lines, altcoins, altcoin season, and all the stuff. We haven't talked about altcoin season in a while. I was thinking in the morning, how is it looking for that? Since the Bitcoin dominance was increasing, we could look into that too. Some people sometimes ask for stocks or forex. I even have done that in these sessions. It's anything that you want to ask. And I can see some people vote for some coins, but they didn't get any. They added this to the list, but no one voted for that. So that is kind of a waste. So if you were adding these coins, make sure that you put a vote to it so it comes up in the ranking, and I can manage then to cover it. If you are watching this video tomorrow is Friday, and you want to be part of these weekly private sessions, there's a link in the description to join my Patreon. You need to join as an elite member. All right, so I want to make a stop first on Bitcoin to see what's going on in here throughout the whole day. The move up has had a strong resistance in here. You can see these 2 levels of $600 and $500, and that has increased up to 0.08. I covered that in the morning, which is more ask liquidity, more limit orders right above 109K than what we had suppressing the price at 110. So it was looking like, well, either they're just spoofing and they're just pretending that they're gonna sell there, but as I can see in here, the price never touched these levels. When they got close, they moved this just 1 level up, but they kept kind of the same amount. Some chicken out because it reduced from probably 1300 to 1100, but still they managed to create that effect and they ended up selling back down. And let's see what that is doing to the price, right? So on the price, on the RSI 4 hour, we can see that we perfectly tested the resistance line, and that was the level where it got rejected. We left this morning an orange line representing that RSI of 52, and that was the rejection at 108.8. Now we are putting a red engulfing candle. There's still 2 hours to define how that ends. I don't want to say this, but the last time we went that low to potentially do a double bottom, we got bought up into the resistance and we broke out. So how could this play out in a bullish way? Well, if in the next 2 hours we get bought up back above 108 or very close to the closing price of the previous candle, which is around the 108, then we got a huge chance to hit the next fair value gap at 109.5. Okay, if we close like this, how we are now, with a red engulfing candle, or even worse, if we come back below this white trend line, then it's bad news for the longs, because basically that becomes a complete fake out on the price breakout. Not a fake out on RSI. We had one here, but this is not a fake out. This is just a rejection from resistance. Now, coming back lower into 107, probably still going to print a higher low in here. Okay, so that means that there's still a chance that we break out a little bit later, unless we lose the 107K. 107K in here is a big deal. Remember that there is leave room here for a potential liquidity hunt. So a fall there where all the shorts enter and then they drag us with a real move up. We are in an uptrend on the weekly, on the monthly. We have strong moves up. We just had on the day a neutral because there was a pierce of support, but there's plenty of things still for the bulls to dominate. So this move is not necessarily a deeper correction until we really fail from that. So there is a chance in here that 106 gets put up, back up, and we get the real move up that coming in the shape of a breakout on the 4 hour. So that's kind of a short-term update on Bitcoin. We are on the weekly on a channel down. We know those things from the video in the morning. So let's read some comments and then let's get a hand with the first coins that we need to review. If you update this, let me know in the comments as well to refresh it to make sure that I'm reviewing in order the coins before I start. And if you want to be part as well of the live stream and say some words, ask me something, just write down in a comment what you want to be invited for. So if you want to talk about certain specific symbol or have a discussion about certain method of trading or whatever, we can talk with microphone, camera, share screen, and all of that. Cool. Let me read the comments. We got the Granddad Bitcoin saying, would you be comfortable giving a percentage probability of Bitcoin dipping down to mid-90s by market makers over the next week? I should add. So to be more specific, I think there is a good chance, I have to say. I'm not sure to the low 90s, but certainly to 100K is doable. We are at 107, so that's a move of 7K. To the low 90s, it's a big deal because that means that we need to go below the point of control. That's a bearish area. That means that, all of this is just a kind of a almost fully formed massive double top that probably is going to be visible also on the weekly time frame. And that point's very low if you draw it in your chart as a double top like this. So going to 90s is not necessarily the end of the weekly trend, but uh, at this point we are supposed to be due for doing something big, and the disappointment, I don't know how is it going to impact the markets, and it also depends on what's driving the price to that level. If it's general markets or if it's Bitcoin by itself. If general markets are doing well and Bitcoin goes to 90s, there's something burnt that I wouldn't like to see. I think there's a good chance because we are breaking down from here. We have a channel down on this. We have momentum to the downside, still growing in momentum to the downside on the daily. We still haven't done anything significant. That's the thing, that we still have a healthy structure. We just see that breakdown, but many people are going to say, that is still more of the same, right? Up, flat, up, flat, up, flat, up, flat, right? Our flat now is 107. If we don't do much more than this breakdown, this can still recover pretty easily. Okay, let's go into the first coin. Let me refresh one last time this, and we go. Interesting. The top voted coin to do TA today is PEPE. So, many of you must be in a trade or something. Let me know in the comments if that's the case. So we got this move into the neckline at 1451. That is hitting precisely that week down that was previous support. And we have a double bottom. We did the technical target, and we are just being held 4 weeks right there. RSI doing better than the price. True, because it has managed to curve all the way up, do the revenge rally, go back above the previous support. It's a very shallow move, right? But it's pretty clear to me that that's what happened. There was some sort of retest in here, and now we are just flat. So we're just waiting for the next move. And I suspect that Pepe is getting shy just because Bitcoin is. We have a potential to carry on with this move into the next resistance of 66. So let's see where that is in the price. Well, okay, yeah, these prices that, like, they are so small in number. Let me see if I can fix it just very quickly, and let's see if RSI works. Yeah, I was right. I was always thinking that that was the problem. And when the price is too small, somehow the plotting, goes crazy, of the RSI reverse. But the RSI is the same, right? So the momentum is the same, but just the scale is messed up. Therefore, you cannot see it. But that was a quick fix. Uh, so 1868 is where we could be heading if we manage to break that resistance. Now, that target is going to disappear. So I hope you took note, because I'm going to go back before the fix, because I want to see my lines. Then all the lines are gone. Yeah, so 1.8 is kind of the target. So let's say around here. What do we have there? Not much really. Just we have the 179, which is almost 1.8. That is the beginning of this descending move. Actually, the beginning is 2072. So this is just previous support around there. So it does make sense. What's going on with the longs versus shorts? Remember, every time I do TA of the coins that are on the top end, they're gonna get more love. They're gonna get a little bit more time. And how long I've been? 12 minutes already talking, so I need to speed up this part. Yeah, we are at the very high of longs on Pepe. There's never been more longs than now. And this is the listing on Binance. The listing is from May 2023. And yeah, definitely very high in terms of long. So we need a little bit of pullback in here. We need to take out of the way some longs. The best way is to put the delta long shorts from my suite of indicators on the weekly and see this. It also helps looking at this on the daily. And internet is very slow today. There's something wrong with Trading View. That things take a lot longer. Um, I'm not liking that we pinched this on one day and we came back down, but hey, we are still attempting to do the breakout of 14. Longs were incredibly high. That was on the 14th of May, and there's been a flash of longs. Now that I see this on the 20 from the 25th, some of them got taken down, so that's good. On the daily, we can see that we're kind of having a cool off period. But on the weekly, this whole journey has been just too much, from 10% to 42%. 42%. All we can argue in the favor of Pepe, that this could still go a lot higher, is that that's just 40%. So in theory, it could get into 60 or 70%. It's just that based on past performance, we've never been there. So it's kind of half-half. In terms of price action, okay, next targets, we say that 17. We got a high at 26.98. The Fibonacci extension, if we get a similar proportion rally similar to this one in here, we could get to 27, and the golden pocket is 41. And what we don't want to see is, I will say, after having this massive green candle, I wouldn't like to see a retracement that takes more than half of that. So I would like to turn 1151 into support. Thanks to all these bearish candles on the weekly, I accept a move to 1151 as a compromise. If we start going into the next support of 92.8, then we are kind of turning it more bearish. That is obvious. But why? Because this is a huge move up, and what we don't want is to completely reverse of this whole effort. Although it has happened in the past, like for example, in here we have a big green candle, then we have a period of accumulation again, and then we resume. But yeah, I would prefer in this context, after this sell off, to just go back down there and confirm that we are going in the right direction. The last line in the sand is that night three, but still a little bit too bearish, in my opinion, to go there. And also, if we do either of them, we need to do it very quickly, because we recoverable support, and by coming back down, we are losing it again. In terms of socials, and not very overheated, actually, we are very low, and this is, oh wow, it's pretty high for PEPE. 0.29 is the lowest it's been, and now we are almost at 2%, and it's peaked around 2024 a couple of times, almost at 4%. So it's a coin that attracts a lot of socials. Meme coins are made for socials. They really don't offer anything apart from buzz, and you trade that literally. So it's 2%, and when it gets too overheated, you need to be thinking on taking profits. All right, so I'm gonna look into some liquidation levels if I can find something. I think I've seen Pepe in trading different. Let's see. Yes, there you go. I was right. And let's drop it to the highest time frame we got, which is 1 hour. And let's start with very high leverage. And that's the full range. It's very narrow. Why is it so narrow? It doesn't track a lot. Okay, so we got which levels? We have this level at 13, and what mid level at 12.4. 13 and 12.4 are the risk. If we include a bit more bands in here, um, since it's a meme coin, I don't think there's many. Well, there might be people still doing 100x, but since there's so much volatility, it's crazy. But some people still do 25x and 10x. They have the risk of liquidation on the top end at 15.3, and the last one is 16.4. There is this big liquidation now that I'm seeing thanks to the 10x's, that is 12 and 11. So 12, let's say 12, and let's go here. 12 is around this support. So that will do for me. So if we go just to 12, we hit that liquidation, and we prove that we just went there for that and not for lower than that. That, I will be willing to still hold whatever I accumulate in the double bottom. And in the last 3 months, we have 12,485 and 11,8. So that 12 is definitely something. And on the lower end, the biggest liquidation level at the moment is 7. So 68.15. So that is for Pepe. If you have any specific question about Pepe, I can go back into that. Minus 13K in a Pepe trade from December. Oh, ouch. Well, yeah, someone is in a trade on Pepe. Look, this been horrible, but that's the story of meme coins. Uh, of course, you make the most money if you put an amount that you can afford to lose, and you get lucky. It's pretty much like gambling. There's no real trading. Most people on these coins, they're just gambling. They say, okay, I'm gonna just go for $100 with 20x. If I get a few $1,000, great, right? But if you put money on something that is pumping and you are trading, then you need to manage the risk on this business, and it's very difficult as well. It's not like, oh, manage your risk and you're safe. You're going to hit that stop loss all the time, because they're going to be chasing it. The pros, the people that pay attention to the data-driven decisions, they're going to chase your stop losses, they're going to chase your levels of liquidations and all of that. So you better, have very good selection of where you place your risk. So you need to play chess there very cleverly to be that 1% that doesn't lose on the trading. Next coin is TRB, which is one of the coins that I was popping up in my screen this morning that I was gonna cover in the video. But since the market cap it's so low, I decided to skip it. I want to do TA of video of coins that are top 100 market cap, just because when it's too low market cap, you never know what are you really talking about in your channel. In the next month, it can be unlisted. The next month, it can be proven that it was a complete scam, and I hopefully don't want to have any video that ever touch on those coins that are bad reputation and stuff. I don't want that bad reputation. I just want to do the TA. But someone might say, oh, you say that it was so bullish looking, and then it went to zero, and maybe you are sending us your bags and stuff. I don't want to be part of the YouTube channels that have more than 1 million subscribers, because they are all part of the same class. Anyways, let's look at this TRB. And we got support here, obviously, at the 20. Then we have a heavy resistance at 51.85. And considering that we got Bitcoin today doing this, which is about to challenge again the 107 and potentially lose it. Let's see how is the order book. Well, some longs are coming in at 106.8. Let's see if they can repeat the trick. They put two 500 there and they managed to move it into the next. Now they have a 500 and almost a 504.4. Yeah, maybe they might get away in here with pushing it back up, but there's now a downtrend, so they are going to have to move this lower. If that continues in that direction, we might see as well TRV and other coins that are pumping for the week or for the day to retrace. Not all of them. There's always a survivor. You go into crypto bubbles and you see that one or two ended up still in the green. It's not all of them, but most of them, they give back the pump of the day when Bitcoin has a bad day. And well, it's not yet a bad day. We're just going sideways on the daily. So far, we don't lose 107. But if you lose 107, that's going to be a challenge for this to stay there above $52. And we had a breakout on the weekly on TRB, and longs definitely realized that that's the case, because they went from the area of value of delta long shorts and they right there enter. It's kind of, they were looking at my indicator and saying, well, it's in the area of value, let's go in. And they went all in here. So there's an increase from 37% longs into 70 straight away. So it's almost like double down in the amount of longs, and that right there at support after the breakout. And there's a delta signal in here. Is that coming from? Oh yeah, it's coming from the signal, because you can activate here signals as well. So you got the buy and the sell, and those are when you cross over one of those bands, you can activate both, and then you get that signal. I don't like the signal though. It's too overextended. It went back into 70. By daily close, it's gonna be, who knows, at 70 or 80, and that's a bit too late. So some coins break out and go too far too quick, and not the time to chase that. So that green candle to me needs a pullback before deciding something. Last time we got one of those was in here, and we did two weeks in a row. This one just did one and sold off against resistance. So watch out for repeating that play, right? From support, long wick up above support, and then retracing back below 50. You've been warned. Just, don't blame me if it doesn't do it, but it's a source of concern and risk. And social networks are spiking to the highs. We already have done that twice in this area to 0.39, but this can spike up to 4%. So it's pretty quiet these days, but if this carries on, it's going to attract a lot of new people as well. Let's remove this. We don't need that. What else can I say about this? Let's look at liquidation levels on TRB. Again, for each coin I'm covering, if you have any specific question, just drop it in the comments. In the meantime, let me read those comments. That exact thing happened to me with Turbo right in the trap. It was gambling because market was hot. I made a few quit, and then rebought and got trapped. Never again. Yes, we all learned that lesson. I've been there. Um, it happens to everybody, and it's one of the reasons why I decided to trade, not to invest in these things. Because there's so many people trying to convince you to invest, and many times I made a lot of money investing, but particularly in 2021 and in 2020, based on you know fundamentals. But the fundamentals in the bear market, they all go to the bin straight away. There's no fundamentals. And when we are entering into the bear market, they tell you, yeah, I'm going to keep this one because it's fundamentally strong and anything. Yeah. And then after 4 years, there's like 50 new coins that have better fundamentals than that. And your coin is just down, down, down. And all you can do is hope that it's got a rally revenge during the next rally that is going to get sell off again. So fundamentals, if you like that, good for you. I want to be aware of the fundamentals, but I don't want to trade fundamentals or invest in fundamentals in crypto. So let's do a little bit of targets in here. So if we manage to close this above the 51, the next level of resistance is 93. And the liquidation levels, I almost didn't see anything in here. It's just to sharp the move up. It left some liquidity at 45, and it left a big bucket at below 30. So below 30 is right where we start the rally, and around 45, around here, there is something that probably we can see why if we drop the time frame and we see if we made a stop there. Yeah, around here we made a stop. We left some liquidity at 45 and we carry on. That's why it's there. So it was selling off and they entered with new longs. And let's go back to weekly and let's change to the next coin, which is WTC. It sounds like a toilet coin, but just very close to to the other one. WTC. Let's do it on Bybit. I wonder why this is not showing up. Ah, there you go. So I did TA of this, and probably I'm gonna need to drop the time frame like this. Oh wow, that's amazing, incredible! I wasn't expecting this. So it hit that resistance and it carries on up. On the first day, it it looked like a candle of indecision, but so far it's carrying on with this move in here, and I think we're gonna have to do some Fibonacci tricks. Let's do it from this low into this high, and we get it like this. Okay, so we already did one extension, and we got a golden pocket into 106. And I think if I remember right, because I have terrible memory, that's why I leave everything in the chart, but I didn't do it for this one. It's hitting the $1 is psychological, and I, I was wondering if we are gonna be able to do that. WCT, let's see the liquidation levels. I want to know if we're going there just to liquidate longs. And let's drop it to 1 month. I hope this is gonna show something. So around 97 cents, there was a big liquidation, and we took it, and then we came back down, and then we carry on going up without hitting any liquidity. There was almost no liquidity to hit here. There's now just a small area at 112, and below the price we have 87 cents. Below, of course, below where we started the whole parabolic rally at 0.46, we have a very large one there. And got no point of reference. So we got the Fibonacci, the 0.6. Let's say we go to an extension of 2, and then let's go with the RSI to see what we can find there. This is kind of explorative TA. Mm, there's something ascending in here, something like this. So instead of being kind of a horizontal thing, I kind of see that pattern. And it's still expanding. It is parabolic, definitely. And it's got, let me count the waves. If you're an Elliott wave, expert, and you want to help me here, great, because I'm not. So this is wave 1, 2, and this is the third. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this should be the most impulsive one. If I'm doing it wrong, that's okay. That's not my area, and I don't need to be expert in all areas. But I just want to know how they will interpret that. Uh, and if that's the case, that 80 should be around the area where we should be looking for a move down of the momentum. Longs are quite overextended, getting into 80. The maximum it's been is 81, so we still have one more point, one more percentage for additional longs to step in before we start breaking the statistics of the whole move. Very interesting coin. Unfortunately, no match from liquidation levels. Um, and a correction from here, if you want to know, how am I going to do this? Let me think. Okay, so from this point where we start this impulsive move, I'm going to try to see if, let's say we stop there, uh, coming from the top. So, okay, I need this like that. And this with that potential top, let's say we stop at 1.1 and we retrace, a healthy retracement should be at 80 cents, at 77 cents. And we got a liquidation around there. Did I say one? No, we had some smaller there at 75 and then at 90 and 80 something, we said. So that will be a healthy retracement. And notice as well that each move up in here, the previous one comes back to retest, right? So you pinch up, but the close is at 56, and then you go up and you come back to 57. So this wave up coming back down can get into 74 to 77 and still be considered, not necessarily the end, but although maybe if I counted properly the waves, this should be the last one, and then we should have a lower high coming in. Cool. Next coin. Sonic. Let's do it in CoinX. Yeah, that's on spot, and we got all this history for Sonic on the weekly. How much I have? Not much, really, just a tiny bit. And quick look at everything on the weekly. So lower highs and a support that is right here, resistance around 85, and well, the all-time high there, and then a line in the middle, which I'm gonna place conveniently, trying to hit as many weeks as I can, because I cannot, if I place it with a closing price, then I don't hit much. So I'm gonna use the compromise of being there in the middle of the sandwich. And after that, I'm gonna move back to daily. Sonic was called Phantom. More history. Uh, if it's the same Phantom that I was trading in the last cycle, uh, yeah, that will be interesting. I remember running lots of bots on Phantom, but I'm not sure if it's the same coin, Granddad Bitcoin. Phantom, the one I'm talking about, I think the symbol was FTM, if I remember right. That was maybe years ago. You can see that Sonic is just oscillating here, up, down, in between 62 and 40 on the daily. Those are the levels of support and resistance from the weekly. And we have, this, did we get here? Oh, that's weird. It's a pretty interesting divergence there between this lower high. But if we take this as the highest level and we start building here the resistance, we're going to meet with that at 60. And we kind of have an area of interest in here, which is horizontal. It's going to be the fourth time that we go to 34. And this time was here, vertical, vertical, vertical. So the question is, are we going to get both at support at 41 again? Let's try to see what happened at that point with the longs versus shorts. At this point, it was at 36, then at 42, and here at 45. So it's been increasing. We have that uptrend of longs, and we're quite low in here relative to that trend line. Not the lowest it's been in the whole range, but relative to the trend line is low. It's a 44 versus 47. So I will say we're getting into an area of interest in here. So the question is if we are going to hold that or not. Um, and I don't remember. Okay, of course, what I need to do here is a local resistance right here to create this area of squeeze for price to decide whether to break down from 34 and then break out from lower range and then meet with revenge zones, or to break out straight away thanks to the strong support of 35 RSI. So basically, we need to translate that into some values in here. So we have the 35. That is pretty much where we are. We cannot go much longer down before we start breaking down on the RSI, and that's going to probably happen before breaking down the price. So that is a good alpha to know when you see the breakdown of the RSI and the price. People are still thinking, and no, it's not going to happen. Then you get some advantage because it's more often than not that then the price follows through. Breakout to the upside, we need to get into around 38, and that is also very close to the price. So a breakout, why is it so close to the price? It's too close to the price. I'm doubting that this is calculated correctly. Basically, we need to close at 45 from here, 2% up, and a little bit above that, and we are in a breakout of this area. That's gonna look something like this, right? If we don't do that, we can do it from lower, and then we look at the revenge and we do the due diligence. Let's go into liquidation levels on Sonic. And granted, Bitcoin, are you trading Sonic? We got some liquidation levels. Of course, this is a trading range, right? So we already say that we are trading sideways in here. So when you trade sideways, you should expect obviously that in the limits of the range, you have most of the liquidation pools. Because if you go 3 times and you hold the stupid 40 cents, each and every time someone was there entering along and benefiting from going all the way up. And that liquidity starts accumulating. Not all people close the trades, and they're waiting for higher targets of $1 and stuff like that. And that's how that liquidity starts attracting the price as people, also people closing those trades, they actually attract the price to that area too. So on Sonic, we got 26, 27, and 36 is kind of the center of all those chunks in the 1 month. On the 3 month, I'm not sure we're going to find more than that because it's trading in a range, and out of that range is too far in the past. We got 21 cents and we got 36 cents. And 21 cents is what? How can there be liquidity at 20 cents? That's crazy. unless I'm in the wrong coin, this is Sonic SUUSD. So maybe in here is SU. Well, anyways, there's something wrong, but the price seems correct where we are, 03. No, we are trading at 44. This is completely wrong. This is not the same Sonic. There must be a mistake there with the listing, or maybe I'm just confused. Um, right. Let's go into the next coin, which is XRP, which I'm sure that many more people are going to be hoping to see the analysis. So XRP and XRP USDT. Let's go to Binance. Let's move it to weekly. And what's gonna come after ONDO virtuals? You guys are definitely trading these too. Every single week we get ONDO and virtuals. I think I recently did ONDO in one of the live streams. XRP continues to go sideways. We managed to put a weekly close slightly beyond 241, but it was really painful, probably because it went to 264, and it's getting dragged down from there 16%. So the people chasing the rally are now in pain. And so far, the retracement is very mild, nothing to get worried about yet. And my worries start below $2. In between $2 and to 1 is where the band of worriness starts. This was a liquidity hunt and it worked really well to come back into the range. We are still not fulfilling the idea of this breakout that I drew from here when we started the breakout. I say, well, we need to wait for this stupid sideways and to meet with the RSI going to the right. Wasn't expecting to go to the top because the RSI can move straight into 64 and you get a breakout too, right? But that is a very fast-paced move up with a lot of momentum. I was expecting the sideways in here, and that's playing out. It's meeting right where we drew it at 55, and we still don't get the breakout. We only have an internal breakout on the 14th of April. That's responsible for this leg. But not necessarily enough to do a global breakout. And let's see the healthiness of the rest of the things. We are very close to an area of value that is at 40, and at the moment we are at 47. The last time we were around that trend line, it was on 15th of July, and I'm sure that was actually a great entry. Look at this moved from there 700%. So definitely it was an area of value. If you don't call that value, I don't know what you call value. But at the moment, it's getting closer to that. So maybe it's gonna drag a little bit before breaking out. But hopefully, Bitcoin breaks out. If Bitcoin that's something deeper, then expect a little bit of bleeding in here, maybe the breakout coming from later. If Bitcoin does the breakout now and goes into all-time high, that is definitely going to allow XRP to have its revenge against 68 RSI. Let's put some numbers on the table. So 68, for the people that want a little bit of hopium in the afternoon. So that takes you back into 336 from where we are, if Bitcoin also helps with that transition. And if not, probably the RSI is going to drag into this area. So after failing and testing that resistance, I will expect another leg down into, let's say, 45. I don't have a point of reference, but we were recently at 45. We started the rally from 45 actually. So if we go into 45 here, that is another pinch to $18. Not a forecast, but if we get there and we see strength at that point, we could benefit from the fact that the previous rally started from there. And hopefully at that point we are in the area of value, longs versus shorts too. Definitely people are caring less about XRP these days. not as less as on the 21st of October when we started that 700 move up. At that point, there was a tension of 0.2%, and now there is 2.7. So it's a lot more, probably 10 times more, but is, I don't know, 3% less or 54% less than at the peak. So there has been a cool off, definitely. And now we can go into swing trading on XRP, and we can see all the data, even on the daily, which is great. And let's focus on liquidation levels in this area. And what do we have? We have this area of 2.7, 267 to be more precise, and then we have the 2.8. Those two targets are heavy in liquidity. Then we have another one at $3 that probably we can only see with 3x. Yeah, with 3x that comes in there. And the $3.4. What is the risk for XRP? Well, there are these three X's that were planning a long-term move when we went to 1.6, and they enter with 3x with low leverage. Let me remove that red that is actually gone now, and they enter right here. And then some others have been joining and accumulating all this way up, and they're still there in a position. So the risk is $15. That is for Bitcoin breaking below 90 and forming a double top and doing something more significant to the downside. Otherwise, the 1.5 is difficult to reach there. I wonder, with all this news about listings and ETFs and stuff that involves XRP, how many things could disappoint enough XRP by itself so that Bitcoin, without doing anything bearish, XRP can get there? After all, XRP has done big sell-offs in the past multiple times. So why not thinking that that could be the case again at some point, not necessarily now. On the price, XRP has this resistance in here is meeting the same resistance. So a rejection from there, going back into support into 1.9 and forming like a triangle and completing the triangle. That will be interesting. That will bring back the other side down and potentially have that breakout from lower if that plays out. If we break from there, well, great. Next target is 2.7. We already saw the liquidation pulse. Cool. Let's go with ONDO. What time is it? We have still like 15 minutes, and I'm gonna look into some questions. BTC week to the 106 partially is working out now. Totally miss. We are 1 hour earlier this week. Yeah, I put it in the article, and I put it in the community in a comment as well, trying to not get people to miss it. But yeah, sorry. So we week down into 106.5. We put a new low on the 4 hour, and we're getting bought up back above, the breakout area. So I wonder if this is going to have the strength now to push the price to go into that 109.5. That's why I say, at least whatever you're going to do today trading, what did I say? Do not enter a short once the price goes below the support, particularly not on intracandle and not in this setup, because we are in an area that they are doing that every 1 week, multiple times. So don't fall into their trap. They are really enjoying it. I was gonna do something else. Yeah, I wanted to see the order book. Okay, so very interesting, because I would have expected that. Remember what I say: if we go to 106, look for the bid ratio against ask, and look up for high levels of the ratio, showing that there is a strong buying opportunity from that. So I was partially right. I say we're gonna go there. We're gonna get bought up. That's it wasn't a forecast. It was that scenario has high likelihood, and watch out for that. And it play out, but without the extreme levels of bidding. So there's something weird there. Something is going on, and there's still this resistance. So it got bought up, but the resistance hasn't been moved. So I wonder if they're really going to manage to break out after this potential fail price breakout, if they're really going to get over 109, having all that resistance. So if it's all part of spoofing and BSing, then it's the best trick they are putting up in here. Because if the price comes back here and we put this in 5 minutes, or let's say we put it in the 1 minute, and you see that they pull out right when the price comes here, it's at 108.9, and suddenly these two levels are not there, and suddenly we break out, and everybody says, hey, but wasn't there supposed to be a massive selling wall? Well, not anymore. And they do that a lot too. Tell me about it. um, let's go to ONDO. uh, Maybe let's do the one I have already in my lines. Probably that is, could it be Bybit? Yep, cool. Um, mm, mm, mm. Okay, so on the weekly, ONDO definitely hasn't managed to break the 112. That's the neckline. Bitcoin is playing games with the low end of the 107, and that's definitely helping ONDO to come here to play as well with 09, which was the previous support. This trend line in here is rolling over a bit, so the momentum, you can see that momentum here got kind of pinched down, like it's rolling back down, and that is a consequence of so many longs that have pulled out in this area. Now we are at 49 with a low of 37, a high of 75. So there's plenty of room to go up. There's way less risk than there used to be, and we are about to meet for the third week support. The biggest risk, thanks to that rollover, is not the biggest risk. The next risk is to lose 89 and to go to 76, which is this line that has been um, saving our neck on ONDO. And yeah, but so far 90 hasn't broken down. So let's watch out 90. The RSI says that probably that 90 is going to be at risk thanks to this small, tiny breakdown in momentum, but it's the week. Yeah. So we have plenty of days, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, to correct that. If we come back above 49 on the weekly, we could potentially, hold that 90 and attempt again the 1-1. I suspect that we need Bitcoin to do a breakout to get ONDO back on track. And 55 is the lowest on socials. Now we are being at 35, but it's the lowest it's been on all this leg, about to get to the Bollinger Band again. That's another opportunity. And in terms of liquidation levels of the past 3 months, ONDO has wild weeks or has done over the last 6 to 8 weeks. Yes, sorry, Neapolis, you missed the first hour. Now we are still 4 people, so someone had to go. 80 cents is the biggest liquidation for ONDO, and there's almost nothing on the top end, but there's a heavy accumulation of longs. This kind of, it's upside down with what I'm getting in here. In here, I'm getting that the longs have pulled out, and in the liquidations, it says that at 80 there's a big liquidation. That 80, it's around here, very close to the support. The support is 77 and the 80 is slightly higher. So that could bring back the price into the Y line. That is kind of the risk. And that RSI breaking down in here, pointing down, is kind of saying, I mean, I'm not sure it's saying, but I really want to go there. Where? Here. There is a price to go there. It's kind of telling us. And of course, it needs to succeed to achieve that, but that's kind of the intention that I'm seeing. Let's go into the next coin. We just got 5 more minutes, so make sure that the next time you vote for the coins that you really want to see, because I cannot squeeze so many TA in just 1 hour. And I'm very verboraic sometimes. Virtual, I don't know if that term exists in English. Virtuals, let's write it like this. And I think I do it in Mexi. Yeah, I got all my lines here. It's been listed. And socials are spiking quite high relative to what normally it does. It started with almost nothing, and the first peak was at 29, 0.29, and now it's at 41. And we are being rejected now by this resistance at 253. It's been a decent rally, almost 460%. After a sell off of the usual 90 something that all these coins do, there was that breakdown. And if we were to stop there, we're stopping halfway through. This got into 94, very overextended, and this is just 64. So we are 30 points away from repeating that, and the socials are already extremely excited. So retail is here, and longs are at a very high extreme. We're going to have to drop this to daily and do the analysis on the daily because I don't have point of reference, unfortunately. That is not great. I would like to do it on the weekly, but we don't have it. So this is what I wrote down before. So I put this line going up. So far, we didn't get that high as 82. And I say that in between these two bands is, the percentile. So those are the levels that have usually represented an area for, let's go, let's close that long. Here in 28th of December, more or less here and here. So now it's at 70 and it's coming back down very aggressively. Thanks to Bitcoin, we got the daily breakout, but the daily breakout is still not in any bigger trouble. It started from 60 though. I don't like breakouts starting from so high, but in reality, the initial one was from 45, so that's fine. It went all the way to the top, and then it came back down to 60 and carry on there. So that is still in good shape. We have taken out some longs. It could come down a little bit more into this area again to find a spring to carry on. Particularly, it's going to need that if Bitcoin continues fooling around with 107. And there is a target in here. This target comes from, let me think, it's just a big cap without a handle. That's the neckline. And the target is 4.6. Yeah, I didn't get any specific pattern. And actually, we could do two patterns. The first pattern is with a neckline of $2, and the second one is with 256. So on the $2, if I calculate the two different targets and then we see which one is conservative and aggressive, so this will be conservative, which we have already broken out, and we have moved into 256 from 2, and with a final target of 365, meeting up with around that order block in here, give or take, which is at 37. And then we have the larger cap without handle, and people are going to quote me for that. This is a cap without handle or a glass pattern, and I'm not sure if that is a pattern or what is the effectiveness or performance of that pattern. But from 253 all the way to 246, and that targets the next order block. So we got two targets, this order block and that order block. And let's look at virtuals liquidity pools. And 3 months. So we got a decent risk at 157. That is around the beginning of this last move. Oh, slightly lower. Okay, coinciding with that. Yep, it started from here. Let's do it with a horizontal line. No, with J, I think it was. Okay, around there. That's where there is that liquidation level at 157. If we go that low, my worry is that we do a breakdown in here and then things start getting a little bit shaky for virtuals. If we manage to break the 2.5, well, we get two patterns breaking out. That will be nice. And also reclaiming the neckline. That is a big achievement. Not all the coins manage to do that in this environment where the altcoins are not really doing much. And I think I'm gonna close it with this coin. Sorry, guys, that I couldn't do all the coins. There's tons left. I'm gonna keep an eye on these ones for the videos in the upcoming days. And reminder, next time we do the elite, remember to vote for the coins, not just add them into the list, because for example, SNS didn't get any vote. Someone put that, but then it didn't compete with the other ones. And I usually ask that in the beginning, and I refresh it, but still there's no votes for many of them. I hope you enjoyed the live stream, and if you did, hit the like, and I'll see you the next week. If you are watching this video on Friday, that means that the video is already public for everybody. And if you want to be part of this and ask questions in the live during the live stream and request your own coins, then join my Patreon Elite. The link is in the description. Thanks so much. I'll see you in the next